A super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2330. Would you want, what would I call tonight's? Hang on, I've lost tonight's one. Would you want to know their stories? So today, if you follow me on Facebook, we put a question on there about a thought about how I'm thinking of helping families uncover and preserve their stories. And is this something you would want? So I thought I'd do a podcast about it tonight. So, what would it be like to sit across the table from your great grandparents, your second great grandparents? What questions would you ask? What don't you know that you wish you did? I have a few unanswered questions, not just in my own family, but also for clients as well. So, every now and again we go and chip away, and we've given them some of them we've given basic outlines to, and the rest we just chip away every now and again. We go in and revisit and have another look and see if we can find some more stories. And because the databases are constantly being updated, because what you have to remember is that what you see online, like if you go to Ancestry, Family History, My Heritage, and all those other websites, the Irish, what's the Ireland one? There's one that's specifically for Ireland. But if you keep going to all these databases and think you have exhausted them, keep going back. Give it a few months, give it like 2 or 3 months, and then go back in and recheck information, because they're constantly updating and uploading information. And the cool part is that you might not find it there, but 3, 4, 5 months down the road, they may have uploaded some more information. And you have to remember this. This is something that will, if you think about it, will blow your mind. If you've been on like Ancestry, My Heritage, Family Search, and all those other big database websites, they have thousands, millions of records online. But guess what? They only represent 5%, about 5% or less of all the records that are available in the world. There's millions of records online, millions of names in databases, millions of records. Yet they only represent about 5% or less of all records that are available. So think about that. So if you can't find the information, if you had the chance to sit across the table from somebody in your family, be they here now or have they already passed, and you could ask them questions, what do you want to know about them? Yes, you may be able to find the information in some record, but if the record's not online, now where do you start? Where do you go? So many families leave their stories untold, not because they didn't live full lives, but because no one ever thought to ask. Or worse, they assumed the stories weren't important. But what if preserving even the tiniest thread changed everything for a generation to come? Think about that. Maybe they played a part in a historical event that you don't know about, and because you haven't asked them or haven't gone researching, you don't know. Excuse me. Out of my 8 second great grandmothers, I know of 2 that signed the petition to give women the right to vote. One voted in 1892, the other one signed the petition in 1893, in the early part of the year, in August or September. I know I just did this recently. It was either August or September of 1893 where women were granted the right to vote. How cool is that? 2 of my grandmothers that I know of signed those petitions, of my second great grandmothers signed those petitions. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome to be able to sit down with them and talk to them about it, ask them questions about it? What were they, and they were just ordinary, everyday people who did one small, extraordinary thing. And guess what? Your grandparents, your great-grandparents, second great-grandparents, third great-grandparents may have done one extraordinary thing that you may not know about because you didn't take when you probably didn't ask them because of the age difference. Totally get that. But because you haven't gone and looked, you haven't asked generations that are still around, you don't know that they did one extraordinary thing. If they immigrated from one country to another, that is an extraordinary thing that they did. They left everything behind in that country to go in search of a new life in a different world, in a different place in this world. That's an extraordinary thing that they did. Why did they leave? What's the family story around that? Stories don't need to be epic to be powerful. Small memories, like the way Grandma made tea. or dad's go-to joke can anchor identity, values, and belonging. Think about that. Every person is a walking library. Most of us just never get catalogued. We have so much information stored in our brains from a lifetime of experience, from stories that have been passed down to us from the generations. We have so much in here. We are a walking library. We just haven't been catalogued. So what happens when families start asking and recording stories now and not waiting for someday? Genealogy becomes personal, less about charts and more about connection. We're all about telling the story. Yes, we can find you the facts. We can find you where and when they were born, when and where they got married, who they got married to, births, deaths, and marriages, and all of that of their children, themselves, and things. We can give you all those facts. But you know what the really cool part is? Is that with a little bit more research, we can find the stories. Yes, we realize that ordinary lives are the fabric of history. And somewhere in those ordinary lives, somebody did at least one extraordinary thing that changed the path of their life, that changed who they were. Or not only did it change for them, it changed for a generation. Think of it, those women in 1891, 1892, 1893, who were signing petitions to get the right to vote. They did one extraordinary thing. They put pen to paper and signed their name. One extraordinary thing. They may have thought, I don't know what was going through their mind at that time, but wouldn't it be fun to find out? So how do we carry forward? Grab your phone, hit record, and ask one question at dinner. And on my phone, I have this little one. It's called Voice Memos. You want to know the cool part about Voice Memos? After you've recorded it, you hit the 3 little dots, and you can copy the transcript and paste it into a document. Novel concept. Keep doing that. Get a lot of those. You'll soon have a book. Yes. Do it for writing your own story. Ask yourself these questions. Use journaling prompts to start capturing your own story. We have, where do I have it? I have a freebie that's got questions that you can ask, 100 questions. Why not go through those questions for yourself and record your story? Who knows where it will lead? And then you start printing off it, then you start combining these transcripts, and before you know it, you've got a book. Just tell the story about one particular aspect in your life. I could talk about my military service. I could talk about being a caregiver for Brad. I can talk about moving from one country to another and then moving back again. I can talk about moving. Seriously, this is my 14th town or city in New Zealand I've lived in. It's about to become 15 in a couple of weeks. But consider gifting a legacy interview or family tree project this holiday season. We've got a free sheet of questions we can give out. We can give you to start the questions going. But think about it. Ask the questions this year. Next year, combine it all into a book. Here's the cool part. If you have anything video or audio recorded, you can upload it to YouTube in a private area so nobody can see it unless they have the link. Then when you're putting the book together, you put QR codes and you create QR codes to take you to those videos. Imagine getting a book that's got not only the stories printed out, but has a QR code if you want to go watch the video or hear their story in their own words. And you give those away as Christmas presents next year or holiday presents. How cool is that? So every story preserved becomes a lantern in the dark for someone down the line. It says, you've come from somewhere, and that somewhere matters. Because actually, when you don't need to look back into your past, you need to look forward, because they have already forged the path for you. You are following in their footsteps, then creating your own path. So everybody here that has come before you has left a path for you to follow. You follow that path, and then when you get to the end of that path, you create a new path for those coming behind you. And here are your reflection questions for today. Hang on, so here are your reflection questions for today. Number 1, what story from your family's past would be meaningful to pass down through the generations? Number 2, how could you begin gathering or recording your family stories today? Grab your phone, grab the list of our questions, and start with yourself. That's simple. If you're like me, staying with my mum and dad, I can put that in the middle. I can put that in the middle of the table during one meal, and just ask questions, sit around asking questions and listening to their stories and things. What challenges might arise when trying to preserve family memories, and how can you overcome them? We have a lot of ways to help you overcome, excuse me, family story preservation. We can help you with that. What story or tradition from your childhood would you want future generations to experience or know about you? And I actually saw a really good thing. I don't know if I can find it. I'm trying to remember if it was on. I saw it and I thought, oh, that's really good. But I don't know who posted it. And I'm not sure if it's, no, it's definitely not on the Facebook.
Okay, remember the movies?
Yeah, no, I don't know where, I'm going to have to find it. Because it had a really good quote on it. Yeah, so those are the 4 questions. They're in the description below too. In fact, I think in the description below too is also where you can find the link to get the questions. If it's not there, I will put it there. But in closing tonight, every family has stories worth remembering, whether they're tales of triumph, quiet moments of love, or the quirky traditions that made you laugh. Capturing them now means they'll never be lost. Your legacy begins with a single shared memory. Why not start today? And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific, or as close to it as possible. Hey, Connor.